So E6A says, Norris Corporation issued $2 million in 10.5% 10-year bonds on February 1st, 2014. So that's the face value. The face amount, $2 million, 10.5% 10-year bonds, February 1st at 104. So they issued them at a premium, which means to me the market rate is less than the face rate of 10.4%. Semi-annual interest payment dates are January 31st and July 31st, so every 6 months. Use the straight line method and ignore year-end accruals. With regard to the bond issue on February 1st, 2014, how much cash is received? So 2 million times 104 is what? $2 million times 1.04 is $2,080,000. What are we going to show the bonds payable will be? What's on the face? $2 million. And the difference between the $2 million and the $2,080,000 is called the unamortized bond premium. Does that make sense? Now, number 2, with regard to the bond interest payment on July 31st, how much cash is paid in interest? $2 million times 10.5% is what? What's the face say? 2 million, 10.5% is a year, so half a year would be 5.25%, right? 2 million times 10.5% times 6 out of 12 months means cash is going to get paid every 6 months of $105,000. Okay? Well, it was done February 1st. The payment is July 31st. I know, they're tricking you. Now, because we have a premium here, we're going to amortize that $80,000 over 20 periods or 10 years divided by 2. $4,000 of that premium is going to get amortized every 6 months. And the interest rate, or the interest expense we're going to show on our books is $101,000. It's the $105,000 we're paying out minus how we're amortizing the bonds. The difference we're going to show on our books as interest expense. I want you to try to do number 3 on your own, but I'm going to have it up here for you to look at. Okay? Try to do it on your own, but look if you need to. Let's look at E7A. Waterbury Corporation issued 16 million in 8.5% 5-year bonds on March 1st at 96. So they issued them at a discount. The semi-annual interest payment dates are September 1st and March 1st. Prepare the journal entries to record the issue of the bonds by Waterbury on March 1st and the 2 interest payments on September 1st and March 1st. So basically, when we issued the bonds, how much did we receive in cash? Wouldn't it have been 16 million times 96%? Right? So 16 million times 96% would have been 15,360,000. Right? The bonds payable we know needs to be 16 million, what the face shows. The difference is going to be the unamortized discount. Does that make sense? How you guys doing? Okay? Now, the next one says, prepare the journal entry to record the issue, but then let's do the 2 payments, interest payments. How much are we going to pay out in cash? Is it going to be 16 million times 4.25%? Because we pay it, we're doing it semi-annually. So 16 million times 8.5% would be in a year. 16 million times 4.25% would be the amount of cash we're going to be paying out. Right? Or 680,000. is the amount of cash we're paying out. Since we have done this at a premium, no, a discount, excuse me, since we've done it at a discount, we're going to take our unamortized bond discount, and how many payments do we have? 10 payments. The $640 divided by 10, we're going to amortize $64,000 of it now. And because it's issued at a discount, the cash we paid out plus the unamortized discount is going to be our total interest. The bond interest expense is going to be the combination. Because remember, since we issued them at a discount, that means the market rate is much greater than the face rate. So we've got more interest, a greater amount of interest. That's why we only received 96% on the face amount. Then the second payment is going to look just like that first payment. The journal entry is going to be the same because we're going at the straight line method. Okay? So let's go back here. Let's see if I jumped way too far ahead. Sure I did. Yeah, I did. So basically, when we have figured out the interest rate, we've been using the straight line method, taking the unamortized amount, dividing it by the number of periods. So in this case, if we've got a bond discount of 8111, we just divide it by the number of periods to determine how much we're going to take each period in the amortization of that discount. However, when we calculate the effective interest method to compute the interest on the bonds, then a constant interest rate gets applied to the carrying value at the beginning. So we know that's the market rate, and then the amortization is going to be the difference. So let's look at, I think we did that one too. Here, let's look here. Caret, a $200,000 bond issues at 7% with a 5-year maturity and interest to be twice a year. The market rate at the time the bonds were issued was 8%. So the bonds sold for $191,889, which shows a discount of $81.11. Exhibit 3 shows the interest and amortization on the bond discount. So the carrying value, the interest expense, the discount amortized and unamortized gets computed by, we know this, the face value minus whatever we show as unamortized gets to be our carrying value. The interest expense that we're going to record is the effective interest by taking the carrying value times the market rate times the interest period to come up with our interest expense. Column C, the interest paid in the period is a constant amount by taking our face times the face interest rate times the number, if it's annual or semi-annual. So what we pay out always will stay the same for the whole life. But the amount we show in interest is going to vary based on what our carrying amount is. So I want to go through a problem of that. Oh, let's see. Let's look at 8E8A. Lynn's company sold $250,000 of 9.5% 20-year bonds on April 1st, 2014 at 106. What does that mean to you? Did they issue them at a discount or a premium? Premium. The semi-annual interest payment dates are March 31st and September 30th. The market interest rate is 8.9%. The company's fiscal year ends September 30th. We're going to use the effective interest rate method to calculate the amortization. How much cash are we going to receive by the issuance of the bonds? How are we going to figure that out? Well, we take 250,000 times what? 106? So 250,000 times 106 gives us what? 265,000? Right? The bonds payable will always be the face amount. The difference, the 265 minus the bonds payable, is our unamortized premium. Right? That makes sense? The next thing asks us, how much cash is paid in interest? That will remain constant. It's going to be the face amount. 250,000 times 9.5% divided by 2, because they're issued semi-annually, is going to be what? $250,000 times 9.5, divide that by 2 is? What do y'all have? What's the cash? $250 times 9.5 divided by 2, or times 1/2, is 11,875, right? Six months, paid out every 6 months. It really varies. Three 12ths. Yeah, divided by 4, correct. Exactly. So you take the 9.5, divide that by 4. You know, because 9.5 equals 12 months. And we're only doing 3 months at a time if it's quarterly. Okay? Now, the B part says, how much is the amortization? How much are we going to amortize on, we know how much we're paying out in interest. Now we are trying to figure out what is the amount we're using for amortization on this first payment. So we know our cash is $11,875, right? We know that's the cash we're paying out. But we received $265,000, didn't we? We received the $265,000. The market interest rate is 8.9%, isn't it? $8.9%. So the way we calculate the effective interest rate is our 265 times the market rate, 8.9% divided by 2. So the amount we're paying out minus the market rate, $82.50 is what's going to get amortized against our premium, bond premium. And then the next says, what are we going to ultimately show as interest expense? It's going to be the $11,875 that we're paying out in cash minus what we're amortizing is going to be what we show in interest expense, the $11,792. Okay? Now let's try number 3. With regard to the bond interest payment on March 31st, how much cash is paid? That should be easy. It's the same every time, isn't it? Remember, it won't change. The cash stays the same. What's going to be the amortization? The amortization is going to be, again, our 250 times our 9.5 times 6 months minus what we received in the cash minus what we showed already, our amortization we took the previous time, times the market rate, because we're bringing this figure down by what we already allocated for the amortization from the first payment. So we really are paying interest on the 265 minus what we showed as the amortization at the market rate times 6 months. Or this time around, we're showing $86.17 being the amortization amount. Then again, our interest is going to be what we paid out in cash minus what we showed as that amortization on the premium, or $11,788.83. Okay? How you guys doing? Let's look at E9. On March 1st, 2014, Minnow Corporation issued $600,000 of 10% 5-year bonds. The semi-annual interest payment dates are February 28th and August 31st. Because the market rate for similar investments was 11%, the bonds had to be issued at a discount. The discount on the issuance of the bonds was $24,335. The company's fiscal year ends February 28th. Prepare the journal entries to record the bond issue on March 1st, the payment of interest, and the amortization of the discount on August 31st and February 28th using the effective interest rate. So it's telling us what the discount was. So we issued $600,000, 10%, 5-year bonds, but the market rate's higher at 11%. So we only received in cash the $600,000 minus $24,335, right? Or $575,665. They told us the unamortized bond discount. The summation of these two would be our bonds payable. Right? Now, the way we calculate our interest is we take the carrying value of the bonds, or the $575,665. We multiply that times the market rate, 11%, divided by 2, or we could say 5.5% each period. So $575,665 times 11% times 2 gives us how much? What's the $575,665 times 11% divided by 2? Isn't that the $31,662 here, guys? That's going to be our interest expense. We know we pay out that same amount each time. We pay out what the face amount is times the face amount of interest rate times 6 months. So if the face is $600,000, the face interest rate is 10% times twice a year, or $600,000 times 5%. We're going to pay out $30,000 every period. Okay? The $30,000 plus our bond discount is what's going to show us our interest rate. Know if ever when we issue bonds at a discount, it's because the market rate is actually higher than what the face rate shows. So our interest expense will be the combination. If bonds are sold at a premium, then our interest rate, our market rate's always less than what the face amount shows. Okay? Now, the bond interest expense in the next 6 months, remember, we've got to take into account what we had as the carrying amount on the bonds. We add to that the amount that we took as amortization the previous period. We take that times the going interest rate times half a year. And we come out up with $31,753. It's going to be higher. We're paying more interest this period. Now we know we always pay out $30,000. The difference is going to be our unamortized discount on the bond. Does that make sense, guys? I think what we're going to do is call it a day. I want you, instead of doing problems 1, 2, 3, and 4, I want you to do problem 1, problem 2, and problem 3. Okay? And then we'll work on problem 4 next week.